Hi everyone, welcome. Great to see you all. Thank you for being with us today. Um, we have been talking about the participation of people of foreign or mixed backgrounds in sport in Iceland with three, specialists here before, and I would like to continue a bit with what we were talking about, for example, like obstacles and how to maybe get through them. And you, all four of you, have a background in elite sports or are elite sportists, so it would be great to, it's an honor to get your perspectives here today. And I prepared like a few questions, and I guess in the last 10 minutes we will have questions from the audience as well. So I would like to start with what we started with before, which is like the low participation of people with foreign or mixed backgrounds in Iceland in sports and in other, let's say, free time activities, although we are focusing on sport today, and this is, we see data of young people and children where they take much less part in sports in Iceland than native-born Icelanders. And this is, of course, a concern, as we were talking about before. Well, it's also fair to say that people with multicultural background are also underrepresented in elite sports in Iceland, like in some other countries. When I put that out there, what comes to mind? What, in your opinion, what could be factors that explain this? If we perhaps maybe start with Samar.
Hello everyone, I'm Samar. I am a former professional athlete in Taekwondo. For me, what can be the cause of this is that sometimes Iceland can feel like such a community, and you being of foreign background can feel like you're an outsider of some sorts, and that can be very intimidating. You're coming there, you might not feel welcome. There can be a language barrier, or just like you don't feel like you fit in. And that is something that the coaches and the team, all of them have to just work together on. You have to make them feel seen and welcome, so they do want to come back to practice again. You can have a student come to practice and not pay any attention to them at all, and they will just like not want to come again. But you show them a little attention, you give them like maybe a compliment, and you just show them that you care, and they will start loving the sport. They will start loving to come. They will feel seen, and sorry, I'm out of breath. I just walked the stairs. Just like you have a teacher at school. You love the subject, but the teacher is so bad at teaching it. You don't want to be there anymore. You lose your motivation. It's the same with sports. If you don't have people around you that motivate you to want to go forward, it will just be a lost cause. So that is like one of the main reasons, I would say.
I'm going to hand you water.
Thank you.
Someone else needs water? Good. Thank you. You had some great points there. I think also one of them that we maybe, because we talk a lot about getting young people and children into sports, getting them to practice, and we sometimes forget to think about how to make them come again. You know, exactly. It's like, oh, they're here and, you know, problem solved. But
you want them to stay.
Yes, and that's something we might need to put a bit more effort into. Pap, maybe you want to add to this?
Já, góðan daginn, ég heiti Pap Mamudu Fæ. Ég spilaði lengi í Pepsi-deildinni frá 16 ára aldri, alveg upp í 28 ára, myndi ég segja, og hef ekki gert það núna síðustu árin vegna meiðsla og þannig. En við þessari spurningu, það fyrsta sem kemur mér í huga ég sammála henni það sem hún sagði og það líka ofta þannig að ef þú ert ekki með rétta þjálfarann á mjög eins og ég bara tala frá minni reynslu og þegar ég kom til Ísland þá fór ég á mínu fyrstu æfingu með Val þar sem þjálfarinn hunsaði mig, það var ekkert hei, þú ert velkominn, en það var þetta var eina æfingu sem ég mætti og langaði ekkert að mæta síðan aftur. En svo líka spurning heppni, hvar þú lendir og með hverjum og hver þjálfarinn og mér finnst það líka spila líka í þessu og en það líka margar ástæður, það getur vel verið að það sé peningavandræði líka hjá foreldrum af því að sumir útlendingar sem komið hingað eiga oftast með erfið byrjun til að starta með. Þá er ég að tala og finnir fjölskyldu sem eru þar sem bæði eru með ágætislu laun sem og eru þurfa mest að hugsa bara hvað get ég sett á borðinu fyrir börnin og kerfi stundum. Þá er ég að tala með æfingugjöldin og það sem fylgir því. Það er ekki allir sem geta, það er líka í kerfinu skilur. Ég veit að mér finnst það ósanngjarnt að bera, Íslandingar eru, segjum hér eru, fólk, fólk ekki með sömu tækifærin hér og annars staðar. Hér eru náttúrulega börn kennt að græða peningar alveg frá ungaldri, þeir eru að byrja að safna og þannig að þegar foreldrar eru orðnar því hafi allavega eitthvað til þess að fattar til þess að kofvera börnin allavega hjá flestum. En miðað við þegar ég ber saman við útlendingar sem eru að koma hingað fyrst með börnin sín þeir eru að byrja á nulli skilju. Þannig að ef að bæta eitthvað æfingugjöld og æfing bara peningar sem tengir fótbolta, þá er ég að tala ferðalög og alls konar. Það getur líka haft áhrif af því ég sjálfur var heppinn á sínum tíma. Mér fannst ég vera heppinn að hafa ekki þurft að borga æfingugjöld þegar ég byrjaði á sínum tíma. En fylgir þeim sem náttúrulega klubbun sem ég ólst upp með þeir voru fljótir að fatta aðstæðinu minnar og fjölskyldunni minnar, þannig að þeir voru fljótir að bregðast við. Þannig að ég hef ekki þurft að borga æfingugjöld en það var samt eitthvað sem ég mætti ekki tala það var þannig á sínum tíma og svo er líka annað eins og ég segi skilju, oftast tungumáli getur verið vandamál og líka menningin hjá sumum útlendingum sem koma hingað. Þannig að menningarbreyting það líka þú ert passa ég hérna eða ég það alltaf þessi spurningu og líka hvað skal segja þú sett velkominn, það líka eitthvað þú þarft að vera virkilega heppinn til þess að ég veri á æfingu hjá sem liði þar sem ég hunsaður skilur og þannig að mann langar ekkert að mæta aftur. Þannig að þetta einn af atriðum líka sem ég held. Svo líka margar ástæður líka sem ég gæti alveg nefnt hér í dag. En þetta einir allavega sem ég deila með ykkur.
Takk. I'll just quickly put this into English that you mentioned a few obstacles that might prevent people from participating. You mentioned the feeling of being unwelcome that we see that of course takes the satisfaction of participating from people, so they're likely not to come back. You mentioned also socioeconomic status. It's expensive to be in sports. There are cultural differences. We have language barriers, and so your experience it rhymes with what the research shows us that can be quite heavy in preventing people from participating. Thank you, Alec.
Yeah, my name is Alec. Former world champion in artistic gymnastics. and I am coaching at the moment in Gerpla Gymnastic Club and head coach of the youth national team of Iceland. So first of all, glad to be here and being part of this project, which is I think is very necessary in all sports. I mean, our friends like mentioned a lot of things, and of course, according to researchers, I would say like those are like the main reasons. And what I can add to this, according to my experience, basically, the first one would be definitely economy and like a financial problem, because like in my sport and in gymnastics, they have to do a lot of hours, like on daily basis. Like we have groups who practice 3.5 hours every day. They have like equipment, they need coaches, they like, so definitely financially, it's not feeds to every group. So I also want to divide like the foreigners in two groups. Group one who are like financially stable, and basically they have another problem. I think they are a family that they are moving a lot between the countries, which I have had experience, like a couple of parents, couple of families that they were here, they were like probably stable, they were foreigners, but they were moving to different countries, so they were not here for permanent. So they were not planning in the long term. So just temporary stay here, so just a quick sport, everything, so they don't think and don't plan for like elite sport. And the other one is definitely for those who are a little bit not stable in their financial thing, which is definitely the money, and it's the reason that somebody are not following that elite system. And also, of course, because when you want to spend time, money, everything in the elite sport, you need to sacrifice a lot of things, and definitely it's not probably fits to every culture. So some different cultures probably, according to their family situation, they are deciding to have, I mean, just sport for health, not like elite in a competitive department or something. So it was just like what I could add to what my friends and like mentioned before. So
Thank you so much. Mariam.
Hi, Mariam. I play handball at Valur and played professionally 6 years in France. And I have a bit different approach because for sure what they said is very true. And I think it's the lack of information for foreigners. You know, people come here and they don't know everything is in Icelandic. You know, there's nobody, hey, there's handball practice at this time, come. And the coaches may be speaking Icelandic. You know, they don't know this. And also, of course, money. That's definitely, you know, some people have other priorities. You know, it costs a lot to, you know, let your children go and do all of these things. But I think, for example, me, I was very, very lucky. My father, you know, played handball, so I knew exactly where I should go. And all of my peers at school, they were like, hey, come practice, you know. So I think it's a bit different for somebody that's coming, like maybe an 8 or 9-year-old child. They don't speak the language yet or anything like that. They don't know where to go or what to do. And there's nobody, like I have a few friends that moved here late, like they're 30 something, and they said to me, I have never seen a flyer or a poster of a game. I would love to come and watch some games, but they can't because there's no information about it. Everything is in Icelandic. Nobody's trying to communicate these things to the foreigners. So I think that's really, you know, a different, you know, it's very hard, I think, especially if it's easier when people understand the language and everything like that, but it's definitely harder for people that are just coming and, you know, starting. That's why I think children of, you know, this background, they start later in sports than maybe Icelandic children. You know, when they're 6 years old, you just throw them in football or handball or something, or both at the same time. So at least in my experience, but, you know, for foreigners, I think it's different priorities. They have different ethnic backgrounds, and definitely maybe don't want to spend this money that they can save up for something else that's more important. So any kind of help with that would probably ease up a lot, even just information, you know. And then there's, for example, different sports here are misrepresented because, for example, I was fortunate my mom was a volleyball player, but my friends in school, they didn't know volleyball existed, you know, in Iceland. Like they were like, oh, there's teams here. Oh, that's nice. You know, there's only like a few hundred people that play. That's it. And other sports here as well. So I feel like the sports that are really big in Iceland, they have a lot of people, but other sports, they don't, you know, people don't know if they actually exist on this small island. So I think, yeah, lack of information is very, yeah, I think so.
Thank you very much. These are all quite important factors, and you've mentioned some personal that relate to, you know, your closest network, family, friends, school, and of course you need to be able to access information, which is maybe something more societal or even structural. It's something that should be, well, it's something that you could say is easy to fix if there is will to do it. And I guess what all of these, when all of these also come together, it is heavy to take this step to enter into this environment of sports, of course. And you've shared your experience here, and it made me also think, because, like you said, also you enter at different ages, you come from different backgrounds, and of course, and in your experience, like when you started out, is this something, and maybe you started in different ages? Because I think I'm wondering if children are aware of all of these obstacles that maybe when we are children, our parents are more acting on them. And is it something that you maybe still feel and felt through being in elite sport? Is it something that, you know, or did it change at some point? Do you know where I'm going with this, Samar?
I
Did
think
it make
so.
sense? Yeah.
So I started when I was 8 years old. My parents, my lovely mother, she is here with us today. They decided me and my sister should definitely know self-defense. That was it. That was the start of it. The first day we go there, I'm in love with this sport. And that was basically it for me. I have not felt any of these things that we are talking about here today in my sport. I've always felt very welcome. My parents have always supported me in every aspect of it. I have gone to multiple championships outside the country. I was at the World Championship. I've got a lot of awards as an Icelandic championship as well. And throughout all of it, I felt the support from my family, from my teammates, from my coaches. Like everything was there for me, and I did not feel actually the lack of it at any part thereof. So it's very difficult for me to answer this question from personal experience, other than with very good reviews.
Thank you. Which brings us to you, Pap, and you already spoke a bit about your experience and how the environment matters, and perhaps the mentality of coaches and other working in this environment. And this also brings me to an interesting point that was made before, where we see different participation in different sports. And Taekwondo, for example, is one of where we see more participation of participants with mixed backgrounds, where maybe perhaps football is a totally different environment. Is this something you always experienced, Pap, through your game?
Ég skil ekki alveg spurningin
Þess
alveg.
að því þú komst aðeins inn á það áðan, náttúrulega hvernig umhverfið hefur áhrif og þú veist, þjálfararnir og viðhorf þeirra og náttúrulega bara umhverfið spila svo mikinn þátt í þessu, og hún var að skýra hvernig í gegnum Taekwondo hún upplifði kannski ekki, hefur ekki sömu upplifun kannski, og hann nefndi einmitt áðan einn í panelum þar sem starfar hérna í háskólanum að það svo mismunandi upplifun á milli íþrótta og nefndi einmitt Taekwondo sem svona, það mikil þáttaka þar, en það kannski, það annað með eins og þessar hóp íþróttir eins og fótbolta. Og þannig að já, spurningi var þetta eitthvað svona sem þú upplifðir alltaf í rauninni, eða breyttist þetta einhvern veginn þú fórst að spila professionally eða eitthvað svoleiðis? Þetta eru mjög persónulegar spurningar.
Sko, það eru, hvað skal ég segja, þetta er náttúrulega eins og ég segði áður, þú,
Það skiptir máli hvernig tekið á móti þér.
Það er það, sko,
Já.
en ég persónulega, ef þú ert að tala frá því ég var krakki þá eða bara
Já, í rauninni, þú veist, breyttist þetta þegar einmitt, þú fórst að spila professionally og eins og náttúrulega komst inn á hann, það verðist kannski eitthvað sem hefur verið alltaf af þinni fótboltareynslu. En þú þarft auðvitað ekkert að segja neitt meira en þú vilt hér, við erum bara svona að velta fyrir okkur. Er þetta munur þegar við erum krakkar og fullorðin eða þú veist, afreksíþrótt?
Sko, sem krakki þú ert meira svona, ef maður tala hjá liðum sem ég hef verið sem krakki og það var ekkert, ég hef alltaf verið heppinn með liðsfélögum, sko. Það er eitthvað sem ég er bara mjög þakklátur fyrir, bæði þar sem, hvort ég var í fótbolta eða körfubolta, ég var í bæði og mér fannst ég að vera mjög heppinn með hópurinn sem ég lendi. Það kemur stundum bara svona hugsanum bara, vá, hvað var heppinn að hafa lendi í þessari bekk, bara heppinn ég að lendi í þennan hóp, og þetta eru svona vinir sem eru ennþá bestu vinir minn í dag og þannig að það hefur aldrei verið neitt svona vesen og ég líka þegar ég kom til Ísland þá svona, ég tala ekki ensku né íslensku, þannig að ég kunni bara frönsku og móðutungumálið mitt, þannig að það var ákveðin svona pressa ef ég ætla að fitta í hópurinn og það er líka það, sko, viljinn þarf líka að vera til staðar, bara vil ég vera partur af þessu, en þetta er svona ég get bara að tala út frá minni reynslu og það er mjög sem með menningar og svona og ekki sem krakki þá man ég ekkert eftir að hafa svona ekki meðal lífsfélögum allavega
Frábært.
Þannig að það er ekkert, þetta var meira svona þegar ég var í mestrarflokki, sko, sem svona byrjaði að finna svona, ok.
En svo líst þér á það?
Já.
Ok, frábært. Takk fyrir. Just to quickly change it into English. Good experience with your teams and teammates as a child, which is of course fantastic. Some things changed when entering into playing professional football. So, like you told us before about your experience with the environment and mentality of coaches. Thank you so much. Alec?
Yes. I mean, I'm completely agree with all friends. What I can add also, it's depend on the nature of the sports, which is individual or team sport. And like in a games like a football or like basketball, they need to cooperate from beginning. So when the kids are starting in like young ages and then they don't get right reaction, right feedback from the teammates, and like in the games, and because like it's definitely tough in the younger age, but a little bit less probably in the individual sport like gymnastic, but still the nature of sport is tough now. I mean, gymnastic, like if you want to do elite artistic gymnastic, it's 6 different sports basically. And you need to reach the certain amount of level when you are in very young age, like compared to every other sports. So the nature of sport is tough now. So the toughness and also what I can say, the difference of feedback that the kids get at the first sight. And again, I mean, it can be both sides. Like a bit, the society can make a good structure to inform the foreigners about, I mean, the websites, or like, for example, I know the majority of the foreigners here are the Polish. So I know a lot of websites are like English, Icelandic, and Polish, but do we have in our sport clubs? This is what I think it could be very helpful and also like the same as like poster about the matches. Like I don't see it. So
If we don't know.
yeah, it is like next weekend we have gymnastic competition.
Yeah.
Who knows about it outside of the clubs? So I think it is a bit lack of information, definitely. And on the other hand, as I said, depend on the nature of the sport. So
Thank you. Also touched upon what we were talking about when we started the other panel. It's like not interested will not explain this. You know,
Yeah.
why people are not participating or showing up
Yeah.
or something. I mean, it's definitely something else.
yeah,
And
for sure.
of course, if we don't know what's going on, it's difficult to be a part of it, you know. Thank you so much. Mariam.
I also had a very good experience when I was growing up, and I think it's mainly because people were scared of my father, so they didn't say anything, you know. But it's definitely more like I have had some experiences. Like, to be fair, I'm white, I have blonde hair, you know. I look pretty Icelandic until people read my name. When people read my name, they're like, "Ah, okay, you're a foreigner." So it's a bit like. I remember one time we won a championship, like when I was younger, and every person that got the MVP award, they got like a interview live on TV, and I was the only one who didn't, because I think they thought I didn't speak Icelandic, you know. And instead my coach went for me, which is, you know, a bit weird, but, you know, but I really, and I didn't get like bullied for being a foreigner or anything like that. Maybe once, but my coaches were very fast to, you know, grip this and control the situation, you know. And today I'm very good friends with this person, so, you know, it's like I think it's just, you know, I think the movement of, you know, foreigners is like it's different now, because I feel like people, even parents, are saying like, oh, you have to like, you know, take care of this person, you know, her parents just came, you know, be nice to her, you know, instead of like, this wasn't really when I was growing up or anything like that, like, it just happened naturally at school, you know, nobody was like, hey, go talk with her or something like that. But yeah, I think I was really lucky because of just my parents and everything like that, so yeah, don't have a bad experience, luckily.
I love your good experiences. It's good to get them out there as well, you know, not only talk about the difficult issues. I see we are running out of time, so I want to make my last question to all of you. If there is one recommendation that you could give to sport clubs, to the federations, to the people working in this environment, what would it be to, you know, be maybe continue on the path to inclusion? You want to start, Samar?
Yes, make them feel welcome. As a teammate, show them friendship, be there for them, help them if you see someone struggling. As a coach, be their influencer, motivate them, and just like make them feel seen, first and foremost. Athletics, like elite athletic sport, is not for everyone, and you will see it throughout the time, like, okay, these are the people going forward, but please catch them, be it whoever. See the potential and help them take it forward.
Thank you. Hvað segir þú, Papp?
Það margt sem kemur í huga. Það hérna, ég held að mentalitin þarf svona aðeins að breytast líka hjá flestum Íslandingum. Ég ekki að segja alla, ég þekki alveg fullt af góðum Íslandingum, en það þessi hérna eins og þú veist, þegar ég verið hjá nokkur félögum þar sem ég vel meðal þeirra bestu menn og ekki fengi það sem ég áskili. Og það koma svona spurningar oftast bara af hverju það er. Og hérna, þetta hefur svona truflað mig alveg í mörg ár. Bara, þú veist, af hverju fæ ég ekki það sem ég áskili? Af hverju svona, fólk líka svona dálítið hrætt eða eða svona, þú veist, ég finn ekkert orðin á þessu, svona, allt sem svona öðruvísi, skilju. Og maður heyrir svona oft svona frá, þú veist, inn á þessu klubbum bara, já, þú veist, þið gerir hlutina öðruvísi, skilju, þið gerir, þú veist, og hvað, skilju. Þannig að þetta eru svona hlutir, og líka bara, þú veist, ég fikk mér leið, sérstaklega þá ég að tala alveg svona mestraraflokksferðinu, svona, þetta var svona öðruvísi heldur en í yngri flokknum. Í yngri flokknum hafði ég svona menn innan svona félagsins sem voru svona að verna með, skilju. Þannig að leið ég byrjaði mestraraflokki, þá einhvern veginn bara hvarf það. Ég var oftast einn. Alveg saman hvort ég er ráðinn í fjölmiðlum eða bara út í bæir. Þannig að það var engin svona, þú veist, ég var aleinn. Og oftast, þú veist, ég bara, þetta var svona, ég hef aldrei fengið svari á því. Bara af hverju er þetta svona? Af hverju er svona auðvelt, af hverju er svona easy target? Fyrir allan að skýta á mig, hvort það er í fjölmiðlum og ég hef oft verið svona, sitið bara við framan og líka bara, það eru til bara fjölmiðlamenn sem eigi ekki skil að vera fyrir framan sjónvarpinu, því miður. Þannig að oftast eru svona fyrirsögnin bara svona, bara að því þetta snýst mig, þannig að maður svona, af hverju það er, af hverju fæ ég ekki það sem ég á skili. Þetta er svona, hvort það er í viðtölum hjá mínum eigin þjálfara, ég man oft þarna, það er svona, þegar ég var hjá klubb hérna í Reykjavík, ég þarf ekki að nefna hvaða lið það er, en það voru svona, tímabil þar sem ég vann bara nokkri leikja bara á mínum eigin getu og þar á leiðinni svona fer þjálfarinn í viðtali og ert spurt bara svona, já, hvernig, papp, þetta og þetta, það er svona, en maður fær aldrei kredit svona fyrir það sem að, það er ofta svona, ætla svona, gert svona gröfur á mann að, þarfst að gera hlutina svona, standaði svona, gera þið eitt, en þú fær ekkert það sem þú voru skilja. Þetta hefur svona oft svona verið mitt vandamál milli mín og félagana. Og leiðin alltaf að þú breiðast við, þá ertu alltaf vondikallinn. Það er bara alltaf, bara þessi útlendingur, þannig að þetta eru svona sem ég væri alveg til að þetta getur haft svona andlega, þetta getur skaða alveg. Ég verið að viðurkenna, það er alveg einhver partur á mér, skilju, í dag sem er heiðarlegur vegna fótboltaferðinu, sem ég er svona, þannig að, ég held að menn sé ekkert að átta sér á því hversu alvarlegt mál þetta er. Að vera, ég er að gera allt fyrir félagið mitt, en ég fæ ekki þessa vernd, skilju. Þannig að þetta eru svona eitthvað sem ég væri alveg til að sjá, menn bregðast við, það eru mörgum mál, það eru mörgum málefna sem félagar reyna ofta að fela, sem vilja ekki náttúrulega koma upp, sem mér finnst náttúrulega bara umulegt. Það gerist alveg á hverjum degi hérna hjá flestum félögum hérna, á Íslandi. En það er bara, nei, það er hérna, við viljum ekkert, þannig að þetta er svona hlutir sem hafa oft farið í taugarnar á mér. Og stundum er maður svona, bara, en þetta, ég væri alveg til að sjá breytingar á þessu. Bara þetta er bara viðhorfið, ég veit ekkert hvaðan þetta kemur, ég sé þetta hjá mörgum félögum sem ég hef verið hjá og ég spyr mig bara, hvenær hættir þetta? Hvenær, af því Ísland er fyrirmynd margra landa, skilju, við skulum á hreinu. Ísland er fyrirmynd margra landa, en af hverju geta þeir ekki bætt sér í þetta mál? Þetta er eitthvað sem truflar mér alveg mjög mikið hérna í daglegu lífinu. Og ég er svona, mér finnst, ég hef tekið þátt oft í svona, viðtölum og sem tala eitthvað svona hvernig er að vera öðruvísi hérna á Íslandi og þetta og þetta, en það er svona, mér finnst ekkert vera ýta á að gera eitthvað í því. Þannig að ég væri alveg til að sjá breytingar á þessu.
Takk fyrir að deila þessari reynslu. Personal experience of feeling unwelcome, the lack of sense of belonging, feeling, alone, not part of the group. And this is, of course, something that needs to be addressed. It's we are still maybe trying to find the best answers to how to do that, but of course it's important that no one feels like that, whether it's participating in sports or being a part of society, because like you said, it has effect on you as a person, and especially if it's over a long time, it has an impact on who you are. Thank you for sharing your personal experience, and we are hoping that we will continue to do better in this area, of course. Thank you. Alec, your recommendation?
Well, I agree with him. He has actually like experienced that feelings, and I think what we can do, it's just an idea. Maybe I know this is happening, but I think education about like against bullying and getting bullied when they are like in young age. I think because of course it hurts every single person when they're getting bullied, but the foreigners and like those who are not able to speak Icelandic, they feel even more lonely, I think. This is that I have experienced sometimes with like my kids, because like they're not even able to show their emotion and talk with somebody. Like sometimes they don't speak like even English because they are pretty young. So I think that's the thing. A bit more education, even more effective in the younger age, like practically, not just like teach them how to prevent this. And second, I think I would say making some funds, like to cover some expensive sports, to like from Minister of Sport, or I don't know, from the federation, from the clubs, to cover. I know there are some funds, but I think still enough, and inform the foreigners about this fund. So I would say that would help a lot.
Thank you. I just also want to address one thing that Pap said, which is also important, that because there are always going to be things happening. Yeah. There are going to be, clashes between people, or whether it's participants or coach or participant or something. And what you mentioned also is like, it's easy to just swipe it under the rug, but it's so important to react when something happens, because when you don't, you are sending the message to the person that this is okay, it's just something you have to accept and deal with it. And that's the worst message you can send to a person. So I just wanted also that to come in English. Sorry, I'm just looking at the time.
I think I definitely agree with the funding thing, and I think it's the coaches as well. Like, it only takes one coach to just completely make you hate the sport. Yeah. And a lot of times with young people, there are other young people coaching them, that don't know how to talk with people, that don't know how to communicate, don't know how to even speak to these people or coach them. And I think, a lot of times when I was younger, there were people, that were 17 that were coaching me, and which I don't think it's like, you are having a lot of effect on their life, these young kids, and at least if a club is gonna take somebody that's this young, at least, educate them, make them go take some classes, or I'm sure there's things like that they can learn, about these things, because a lot of times it's this, that the coach is not informed or doesn't know, A lot of times, one time I was playing a tournament and my coach was on his phone, And my mom walked all the way down to him and, took the phone out of his hands, which is, it's not normal. So I think it's that as well. So, and for example, what I think as well is, I was very fortunate, but when I was in young national teams with Iceland, we have to pay for all the trips ourselves. And I think this is very discouraging for people that were, for example, from other countries but have Icelandic citizenship, and you're invited to be in the national team, and you're like, but you have to pay for it. And this is very hard for people that come from different backgrounds. They don't have the same money, and it's sometimes 300,000 for 12 days or something like that, and it's really hard. A lot of times you have to ask for help, and how are you going to say to your 13, 14-year-old child, hey, you can't go because yeah, we don't have the money to support you, you know. And yeah, exactly, information about these funds that are, if there are any. So yeah, for sure. And I think for clubs to just put that information out there, you know, why aren't the clubs going to these places where the foreigners are, or, you know, letting them know about these possibilities for their children? I think there's definitely the lack of that. I think the clubs need to as well take the first step and say, hey, we have open trainings, come try out 1-2 trainings. If you don't like it, no problem. If you like it, maybe we can find something out, you know. Why isn't this happening? So even going to schools, you know, just informing them, hey, come to practice. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your experiences with me and us. I appreciate it. I think we're gonna end with maybe a couple of questions.
Yes, we got a few questions, but I would like to start with my own question to Pap about his experience about media coverage in Iceland. I can switch to Icelandic for you. Þú náttúrulega þegar þú varst á hátindunum í fótboltanum, það var náttúrulega mjög mikil umfjöllun fótbolta á Íslandi. Fannst þér þú vera svolítið sigtaður út af því að þú varst góður viðmæland og talaðir jafnvel stundum aðeins af þér? Svona,
Já,
fannst þér þú lenda jafnvel í bara, hvað ég var að segja, reynilega einelti frá fjölmiðlum?
Mér leið þannig á þeim tíma og það komu svona margar spurningar bara í hausnum mér, bara hvað út af hverju það er. En ég veit á saman tíma gerir ég mér alveg grein fyrir því að ég var einn af þessum fáum dökkum í boltanum og hvað er sem talar íslensku. Þannig að ég oftast fannst mér þeim ekkert verið sanngjarnt gagnvart mér og bara fyrirsögnin oftast voru svona það sem gerð,
bara fordóma
já, ég hef ekkert á móti hvernig segja mér critical gagnrýni og ég hef ekkert á móti því, en bara það sem truflaði mig var bara hvernig eru satt, skilju. Eða bara stundum maður bara búinn að spila eitt leik og fer maður heim og hlakkar til að horfa á Pepsi-mörkin og þar sér maður, ég ætla ekki að nefna neitt nöfn, en það voru nokkrir kallar þarna sem ég var ekki spenntur í að hlusta á. Nei, það er bara þannig. Það er bara þannig, það var ofta þannig og það særir mér alveg oft.
Ég held að þetta var eitthvað sem
þá veistu alveg að þetta snýst ekkert meira en meira.
Og ég held að þetta sé eitthvað sem þurfti að taka lengra í fræðslu fyrir ekki síður þá sem er að fjalla sportið.
Þannig að maður er svona oftast bara, af hverju þessi sjónvarp að láta þessa menn vera með mækinn fyrir fram á sjónvarpinu? Af hverju er bara, þú ert ráðinn, þú fær að sjá best. Kekkið á bakgrunni á þessum mönnum, þetta, sumir af þessum mönnum eigi ekki skila að setja fyrir fram á sjónvarpinu. Eins og ég segi, þetta getur skaðað svo margt andlega, skilju, að menn gerir sér ekkert grein fyrir því. Og leið maður segir eitthvað svona, þetta er bara vælt úr svona berjast við, fólki vill ekki hlusta á það, fólk sem berjast, liðið mun ekki vilja fá þig úr svona gæðin sem er að berjast. Þannig að sumir af þeim hefur geta hvetja mig að halda kjafti, sem mér fannst náttúrulega bara rangt, skilju. En eins og ég segi, ég er ekki að segja að allir fjölmiðlar séu það, skilju. Það eru náttúrulega nokkrir sem ég bara respekta alveg til daginn í dag. En það er bara of margir þarna sem þeim ekki skila að vinna í þessu starfi.
Takk, Pap. I have a question for, I think it's for Samar. Did you have role models of foreign background in your sport in Iceland?
No, not in my own sport. I mean, up until the day I started, I didn't even know what it was, honestly. But there were a lot of coaches and a lot of masters of the sport that did come quite often and have seminars or start teaching the national team or just like even became coaches of my team. I practiced with Ármann at the time. And to see them and to see where they were, of course, it did give me motivation. But most of the time what motivated me most were my competitors because they made me want to be better at what I was doing. And having the coaches I had, most of them Icelandic, they saw I had the passion for it, so they helped me become what I became. in the sport.
Here's a question for speaker in blue, which is probably Mariam Eradze. How do you deal with the people treating you different because of your name?
It's I kind of just brush it off. I'm used to it. When I was younger and in school, up like until the 10th grade, like from the 1st to 10th, I had teachers call me Miriam for a very long time, even just Maria, and I always used to correct them. And up until I think I was 12, my peers would correct them for me, because I was just already tired of it. Even today, some coaches call me Miriam. But I just I don't even hear it anymore, and there's usually my teammates, they say, hey, her name is Mariam, it's not Miriam. So they other people take it up for me because I'm I don't hear it anymore, I'm very used to it at this point.
Okay, so the last question here from Slito.com. Where do you believe it is best place to have the information about sports available? Want to take, yeah.
Can you repeat again?
What do you believe it is the best place to have the information about sports available?
Well, first of all, I think in the website of the federations and the clubs. On the other hand, all the societies, at least this is my personal opinion, Persians, Arabs, and they all have some Facebook groups.
Community.
So they have their own community. It's easy to share it in their Facebook pages, their gatherings, and so, of course, this is they are accessible through the Facebook groups, their own communities. Some communities they have the head of they have their own organization, so with their own language, which is I think that's possible to go through. This most simple thing is just the Facebook groups.
It's really not that hard to press some buttons and just post it there.
Yeah.
Do you have something to add with this, Sema, about the information?
I think the clubs can do better with their web pages, have them in more than Icelandic. I think it also goes for federations and other connected to sports. It's great what you say about Facebook and the communities, because they are out there wherever they are. And I think what it comes down to is effort and mindset. If you have the mindset to do the effort, you can get the message out there, whether it's through Facebook, through the schools, or in as many places as possible. But I think it comes down to this, the mindset of the ones who are in charge.
I'd like to thank you all. Birta will give you gifts. Mariam, Alec, Samar, Pab og Sema, thank you.